Most people think procrastination is about time, about schedules, discipline, and laziness. But if that were true, procrastination would disappear the moment someone truly cared. And yet, the people who procrastinate the most often care the deepest. They know what they should do. They feel guilty for delaying. They feel stressed while avoiding it. And still, they don't start. That's because procrastination is not a time problem. It is an emotional problem. Procrastination is the act of delaying a task even when you know the delay will harm you. But that definition is incomplete. People don't procrastinate because they forget their goals. They procrastinate because the task triggers uncomfortable emotions, and the brain tries to escape them. The moment a task enters your awareness, your brain evaluates it emotionally before it evaluates it logically. If the task feels overwhelming, boring, confusing, threatening, or tied to pressure and expectations, your nervous system reacts. Stress rises, discomfort appears, and the brain does what it has always been designed to do: avoid pain. So it offers an escape. Do it later. You'll be in a better mood tomorrow. You still have time. The moment you delay, something important happens. The discomfort drops. The anxiety reduces. The emotional pressure eases. That relief feels good. And your brain learns a dangerous lesson. Avoidance works. Not because it solves the problem, but because it soothes the feeling. This is why procrastination is so powerful and so confusing. You are not choosing failure. You are choosing relief. The brain prioritizes short-term emotional comfort over long-term consequences because future stress feels distant, while present discomfort feels urgent. Over time, procrastination becomes automatic. The task itself stops being the real problem. The emotional reaction becomes the trigger. You don't avoid the work. You avoid how the work makes you feel. Fear is one of the strongest causes. Fear of failing, fear of not being good enough, fear of confirming your own doubts. When success feels uncertain, avoiding the task protects your self-image. If you don't try, you can still believe you could have succeeded. Perfectionism is another hidden cause. When your standards are unrealistically high, starting feels risky. If it's not perfect, it feels like failure. So the brain delays to avoid that emotional threat. Perfectionism doesn't create excellence. It creates paralysis. Overwhelm plays a major role as well. Big, unclear tasks overload the brain. When you don't know where to start, everything feels heavy. The brain hates uncertainty. Avoidance feels safer than choosing the wrong step. Boredom also fuels procrastination. The human brain evolved to seek immediate rewards. Tasks that don't offer instant feedback or pleasure feel emotionally empty. Distractions provide quick stimulation. Meaningful work often does not, at least at first. Past experiences shape procrastination too. If similar tasks were once associated with stress, criticism, or failure, the brain stores that emotional memory. Even thinking about the task can trigger resistance. This is why procrastination is selective. The same person can be disciplined in one area and completely stuck in another. It's not about character. It's about emotional safety. Procrastination is not a flaw. It is a coping mechanism, a short-term strategy to avoid discomfort that quietly creates long-term damage. And until procrastination is understood as an emotional response, not a scheduling issue, people will keep blaming themselves instead of understanding what's really happening inside their minds. Procrastination doesn't just delay work, it quietly reshapes your life. The effects are not always loud or immediate, but they accumulate slowly, almost invisibly. Every time you delay something that matters, a small fracture forms in your relationship with yourself. You begin to doubt your own promises. You stop trusting your intentions. And over time, that internal mistrust turns into stress, anxiety, and shame. One of the strongest effects of chronic procrastination is constant mental pressure. Even when you're resting, the task follows you. It sits in the background of your thoughts, draining energy. This creates a strange exhaustion where you feel tired without doing much. Sleep becomes restless. Relaxation feels incomplete. Your mind is never fully free. Emotionally, procrastination feeds guilt and self-criticism. People don't just say, I delayed a task. They say, I am lazy, I lack discipline, something is wrong with me. These beliefs slowly become part of identity. And once procrastination becomes identity-based, change feels even harder. Ironically, procrastination also reduces performance. Rushed work, shallow focus, last-minute panic, all of these reinforce the belief that you're incapable, even though the real problem was avoidance, not ability. This cycle traps people for years. But the moment you understand procrastination as an emotional issue, the solution changes completely. You stop trying to force discipline and start learning how to work with your brain. The first solution is emotional awareness. Instead of asking, why am I not working? Ask, what am I feeling right now? Naming the emotion, fear, boredom, overwhelm, self-doubt, reduces its intensity. The brain calms when it feels seen rather than attacked. The second solution is reducing emotional friction. Big tasks feel threatening. Small actions feel safe. You don't need motivation to start. You need safety. When the task feels manageable, resistance drops. Starting creates momentum, not the other way around. Self-compassion is another powerful tool. Harsh self-talk increases stress, which fuels avoidance. Self-compassion creates psychological safety. Saying, "This is difficult, and I can still begin," opens the door to action. Kindness toward yourself is not weakness, it is regulation. Another key shift is separating identity from performance. Failing at a task does not mean you are a failure. Delaying does not define who you are. When identity is no longer on the line, the task loses its emotional threat. Structure also helps when used correctly. Not rigid schedules, but supportive environments. Fewer distractions, clear starting points, defined endings. The goal is not control, it is ease. One of the most important recommendations is to stop waiting for the right mood. The right mood rarely comes first. Action changes emotion, not the other way around. When you begin, even imperfectly, the brain updates its emotional response. Another recommendation is to measure progress differently, not by hours worked, but by consistency and courage. Showing up matters more than intensity. Most importantly, understand this. Procrastination is not your enemy. It is a signal. It tells you where fear lives, where pressure is too high, where expectations are unrealistic. When you listen instead of punish, change becomes possible. You don't overcome procrastination by becoming someone else. You overcome it by understanding yourself. And when that happens, effort feels lighter, action feels safer, and progress finally becomes sustainable.